take care of itself, always faced with major disasters, it needs humanitarian assistance, needs aid, to come and understand that the Africans can stand on their feet, have the capacity to change the condition for the better, and that when they want to interact with the rest of the world, they want to do so as equal partners. I think that would be part of that renaissance. And then said, those who have eyes to see, let them see. That the African Renaissance is upon us, and as we peer through the looking dark glassly, this may not be obvious, but indeed it is upon us. As I've recalled these words over the years, I have often wondered whether I did not speak too soon, wrongly believing that the swallows we saw then did indeed portend the making of an African summer.
As part of the leadership that brought about change in South Africa, former President Mbeki, in his role with the African Union, was instrumental with assisting the people of Sudan to reach a peaceful solution to the Sudan conflict and become Africa's 54th nation.
As the Republic of South Sudan celebrates her independence, we can only hope that peace and stability endure following decades of war.
South Sudan, woye!
When we look at a place like Sudan and southern Sudan, what can you speak to in terms of the benefits of that secession of southern Sudan?
Well, the first and the most important benefit there is peace. Sudan got its independence in 1956. So it's been independent now for 55 years. But for probably 40 of those years, it's been at war. And essentially the war between the North and the South. But also other wars in Darfur and in Eastern Congo, in the Eastern Sudan. The manner in which this conflict between North Sudan and South Sudan has been resolved allowed for the people of Southern Sudan to decide whether they want to remain part of one Sudan or to separate and form an independent state, and they've decided to form an independent state. The biggest dividend of that is that this will indeed end a period of 40 years of war, and therefore create the possibility for both North and South to attend to these important issues of changing the lives of the people for the better. Issues of development, and I'm sure you know what Southern Sudan looks like. And you can see the very tragic case of underdevelopment, which indeed underdevelopment is not surprising, given that for such a long time, this country has been caught in a civil war. I'm quite sure that the independence of Southern Sudan will then give the people of this part of Africa all the possibility then to attend to these challenges of development. It will also give the people of the North the possibility to do the same, where you no longer are having to divert huge revenues to the conduct of war, to something that is destructive. Now the resources that you have, you now can attend to matters of building roads and schools and clinics and provision of water and so on. So I think really these are the two biggest dividends. There is peace and the opening up of space for development.
A happy day like this should not dwell on the bad memories. But it is important to recognize that for many generations, this land has seen untold suffering and death. We have to forgive, although we will not forget.
Coming up, what's happened in his own backyard of South Africa and his ultimate fall from grace. In 2005, then-President Thabo Mbeki removed his deputy president, Jacob Zuma, from his post once he was implicated in a corruption scandal.
Zuma was Mbeki's deputy until he was sacked in 2005 after charges of corruption, fraud, money laundering and racketeering were brought against him.
Less than 2 years later, after a prolonged power struggle with Zuma, President Mbeki would be asked to step down by his own ANC party due to the inference that he was also involved in corruption scandals. It would be the first ousting in post-apartheid politics.
I would like sincerely to thank the nation and the ANC for having given me the opportunity to serve in public office during the last 14 years as the Deputy President and President of South Africa.
He was a loved and controversial figure while in office, most for the positions for which he had been harshly criticized, his refusal to condemn Zimbabwe's Robert Mugabe and his skepticism in the face of overwhelming scientific evidence that HIV is the principal cause of AIDS.
I've received many messages from South Africans from all walks of life, through emails, telephonically and through cell phone text messages, as well as those conveyed through my colleagues. I thank all of you, fellow South Africans, for these messages.
His message was solemn and heartfelt and touched the hearts of so many of his South African patriots with a promise to continue the fight.
Once more, I thank you most sincerely for affording me the opportunity to serve you and to serve the people of Africa. Thank you. Ngiyathokoza. Ngiyalebuka. Ndolibuka. Ngiyabuleka. Zakhensa. Bayadanki. Ngiyabonga.
Before I left government, many African leaders would say, when you leave government and retire from government, you must continue your engagement with these African challenges, and in particular this issue of ensuring that we have the people who would drive the process of the implementation on a whole range of policies about the future of the continent, about political matters, economic matters, security, women's emancipation, the rights of the child, the relations of the African continent to the African diaspora. There's a whole range of policies on these things, terrorism and so on. So we have the policies, very good, but they are sitting on some shelf somewhere. And therefore there's been a feeling around the African continent among a lot of African leaders that we must therefore address this matter of the cultivation and development of the people who would translate these policies into reality. So that's why we set up the Institute.
The Thabo Mbeki Foundation is a public service, non-profit and pan-African organization. It is also a platform to provide African people voice in the local and global context as both a responsibility and an obligation.
Unfortunately, we have a partnership agreement with the University of South Africa. University of South Africa is a distance learning institution. It already has students in 22 different African countries. So it's got a very big footprint on the continent. So they will be able to reach students around the continent through that. The other African universities also want to link up with this. So it will be possible for us to be able to do this, reach out across the continent, and to develop these people who must be familiar. What are these policies that have been adopted for the progressive development of the continent? What are they? What do they say?
One of the greatest impacts President Mbeki had in South Africa was realized after he left office.
I discovered it with you. Connu? The 2010 FIFA World Cup will be organized in South Africa.
Thank you very much to the Executive Committee of FIFA for showing the confidence that it has done in our country to host what will be an African